Well, good evening, everyone. This evening, we're going to be talking a little bit about planning a school visit and things you need to know and things you need to be cognizant of, and just be very aware that there are some things you need to consider before you make your final choice about a specific school. Doesn't make any difference if it's a vocational school, a technical school, a college, or university. You just very much need to think about these things before you make your final decision. The first thing I'm going to start out with is never ever, the never ever list. Never ever decide on going to a school until you have visited their campus. Now, you may say, hey, well, my cousin went there and they really liked it, and I like my cousin and respect their opinion, so therefore I'm going to like that school as well. Well, that may not be the case. That may not be the case at all. Your cousin may have liked it, and you may get there and start going and find that you hate it. So don't do that. Make sure that you have visited the campus before you sign on the dotted line and before you make any decisions about attending that school. Now, having said that, with visiting a campus, don't just show up and expect a tour. Call in advance and set up an appointment. Make sure that they know that you're going to be there. I've actually worked at institutions of higher education where people have just sort of shown up, and you don't get the same experience that you do if you actually call and book an appointment ahead of time. So don't just show up and expect a tour, because they will be scrambling around to try to find someone to give you that tour, and you may not get the best tour guide. So call them. It's just common courtesy. Call them, let them know that you're interested, and then schedule that campus tour. All right. It's just going to give you a far better experience in the long run if you do that. Now, the other thing that you need to make sure that you do is you need to check them out completely. Keep in mind that the schools are there, the recruiters are there in order to sell you on their school. They want to make sure that you think that their school is the best school for you, and that's part of their job. So know that going into it. So having said that, colleges and campuses and different types of schools, if they have a residency hall, for example, or dorm rooms as they used to call them back years ago, they usually have a sample room set up already for you to look at and see how wonderful it is. And they have their computers set up, and they have the beds made with all sorts of neat little paraphernalia, and they've got pictures on the walls, and the beds, as I said, the beds are made up. There's little throw carpets in there, and it's really staged is exactly what it is. It's a marketing trick. So when you go to a school and they're showing you their rooms, what I want you to do is, if they show you a residency room that is all decorated up and all made up, ask them to see one that isn't decorated. See what one looks like that's not received a fresh coat of paint, or perhaps doesn't have the best wax job on the floor because they've waxed the floors, or if it has carpet, the carpet does. In that room that they're showing you, it is a showroom. It's pristine, and it's that way for a reason. It is designed to put the best spin on what they have to offer. So make sure you see that. Ask them things like, okay, what comes in this room? Obviously they're going to provide you a bed, but are they going to provide you with a desk? Are they going to provide you with a chair? Are they going to provide you with a computer? Are they going to provide you with a bookshelf? Are they going to provide you with sheets? Are they going to provide you with... Ask them these questions, because it's things that you need to know. What you see is going to be far different than what you get if you see one of their showrooms. So, another tip. is I would recommend having a meal in the cafeteria, because places can be great, but if the food is terrible, I mean, I personally, I love to eat, and I love lots of good food and flavorful food, and I have had the spectrum of cooking. I've had campus cooking that is really, really great, and I've had campus cooking that, well, it keeps you from going hungry. So, having said that, you should probably ask as part of your tour if you can have a meal in the cafeteria. Lots of times they'll even pay for it. They will take you, and they have guest vouchers that they can give you as part of your tour, and you go over and have a meal there. See what it's like to actually sit there with the other students that are on the campus and actually experience what it's like to have a meal and check out the food and see what it tastes like. Ask them about their menu for the last month. Say, hey, what types of foods have you had here in the last month? Look, they have these things. The people there in the cafeteria will talk to you. The tour guides will tell you. So make sure that you ask them. The other thing is, go with a list of questions. Make sure that you have everything planned out that you want to know. Now, in the description, I have included a list of questions, a pretty comprehensive list of questions. They're not questions that I made up. I went out and I have the sources cited in the description of where I acquired those. Look at them, pick out which questions you feel are applicable to you, and take that list and use it. Ask your tour guides those questions. Some of the questions that I'm going to give you are geared toward asking other students who are at that school. So different schools do different things. Some people have the recruiters to give you tours. Some people have students who are student workers, which if you've watched my prior videos on financial aid, there is a program called Federal Work Study program, and so the admissions and recruitment offices can actually have students that work for them to do tours. So if you get a student doing your tour, ask them the student questions. If you get someone who's not a student, there should be plenty of students around. Ask if you can speak to one. They'll know someone to recommend. So go with your list of questions, and don't be afraid to ask them. Look over those lists. As I said, people who are a lot more clever than I came up with those lists, and I've listed those. I cited the sources for you there, so you can go check those out on your own. See if you can sit in on a class. Lots of times they will have opportunities for you to sit in on a class that is actually happening at that time. Check it out. Ask them, say, hey, can I sit in on a psychology class? Or can I sit in on a history class? Or can I actually go sit and watch someone do their welding? I'd like to see how they're learning to do that. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Don't be shy. This is an important decision that you need to make, and it's going to cost you quite a chunk of change. So make sure that when you go buy a car, you take it for a test run, a test drive. You want to do the same thing when you're looking at a school. Take it for a test run. Don't be shy. Do keep in mind that just like the car salesman, that they are asking, or they are trying to sell you on their school. Now, I want you to think about for a moment glamour shots. Glamour shots used to be all the rage. Now, these days, they have filters on your cell phone that you can buy that make you look younger, that smooth out your wrinkles. You can actually Photoshop and tweak to get rid of your moles, or you can actually add some muscle definition, or take a few pounds off, or make your arms look bigger, whatever it is. Those are when you see those pictures of people that have done these things, that have taken those glamour shots or who have used those filters, that really is that person, right? I mean, if I were to have a picture of me that was a filtered glamour shot sort of picture, you could say, yes, that is Daniel Reed. But then if you know to start really, really looking at it, you start seeing it that in a light that, well, wait a minute, he has a wrinkle here, or his hair's a little bit gray in this spot, or he sort of has a mole or a sunspot right there on his face that's not there in that picture, or he has a little scar right there beside his eye. It's not there in this picture, but it is him. Well, these recruiters and these advertisements and the tours themselves are glamour shots, or are these filters that they are trying to show you their school through. It is in fact that school, but it is that school at its very best. So that's why I'm asking you to, when you go to that school, ask them to see a room that isn't made up. Sit in the cafeteria and actually have a meal. Talk to some students. Actually, see if you can talk to some students who are not your tour guide. If you're walking across campus, again, don't be shy. Stop someone and say, hey, would you care if I ask you a few questions about this? I'm thinking about coming to school here, and I'd just like to ask you a few questions, just one or two, just a couple minutes of your time. I'm sure they'll help you. If they've got time, they will. People like to talk about their choices and things that they've made. So choices they've made. So they will probably tell you that, yeah, sure. Or they'll say, no, I don't have time, I got to go to class. If that's the case, don't press. But if they do, take them, if you ask and they say, yeah, sure, then take them up on their offer to give you that information about the school from their perspective. Okay? Moving along. The next question that I get quite frequently is, can I be excused from school to go on a visit? And the answer is, at our school, why, yes, you can. Twice, as a matter of fact. At Gilmer County High School, you can go 2 days, and those days are excused. Now, all you have to do is bring back a letter that documents that you were there at that school on a visit. It's easy. Most admissions offices will give you, they'll ask you if you need an excuse or if you need a letter from them or you need something. Now, again, we've talked about how there are people who may be watching these videos who are not from Gilmer County High School. So at other schools, I haven't the slightest idea. Go ask your counselor, or go ask your principal, or go ask someone. But at the school where I work, yes, you can have 2 school visits that are excused. So, if you're thinking about it, maybe take a Friday off, go visit one school, and then some other week take a Friday and go visit another, and have a 3-day weekend, and there you've got an excused 3-day weekend. I may not should have told them that, but at any rate. All right, so follow up. Don't just go to the school and be done with it, because they're not going to be done with you. If you've scheduled a tour, or if you've done a school visit there at their institution, they are going to follow up with you at some point in time. So what I would want you to do, or what I recommend that you do, is if you think of questions after you leave, email them to the recruiter that you spoke to on your trip. All right? So don't let any question go unanswered. It's important that you absolutely check out the school thoroughly before you make your final decision. And if you have any questions, you want to make sure that those are all answered. Another thing that you should probably think about doing is, after your visit is over, like immediately after, that evening, the next day, something while it's fresh in your mind, write down the things that you liked about that school and write down the things that you didn't like about that school. Now, we're going to talk more about that list later, but right now, all I want you to do is, once you've done your school visit, write down the things that you liked and write down the things that you didn't. We'll talk about how to use that list in helping you make your decision a little later on. Not sure when, what video we will do that, but I do promise you I have a technique that I use with students, and I want to show it to you, and you will need that list that you've made. All right, make sure that you are satisfied with your visit. If you come away from there and something just doesn't feel right, or you feel like you still have something, a question that's still gnawing at you, something that you wish that you would have done, follow up on that. If you really wanted to see the chemistry department and you didn't get to, or you really wanted to find out that you really wanted to go see, I don't know, whatever they might have, their football stadium or their basketball court or whatever it is, and you didn't get to, make arrangements. Say, hey, can I come back? You can use both visits at our school, both of your 2 days off, for the same school. There's no rule that says you can't go to the same school twice. I wouldn't recommend it. I would go to 2 different schools. But you also have free days over the holidays where you can potentially schedule some visits, because most generally schools are in session when public schools aren't. There are times when they have times when they are there, and the public school system at high school is still on vacation, or maybe we have a holiday that they don't. So call them, check them out. Okay? All right. Having said that, we are quickly getting through the month of October, and these are things you need to be thinking about. And I just want to make sure that everyone is keeping up with what they need to be keeping up with for their applications, their scholarship applications, that making sure that you apply for all these different places and all these different scholarships. Okay? So, schedule yourself a school visit. You will thank yourself later. So, having said that, see you on the flip side.